On a recent outdoor excursion with my wife, I was reminded of a principle that can, I believe, really strengthen the bonds of marriage in profound ways if we allow it to be encouraged. But it seems like more and more so, modern notions of marriage are precisely opposed to this kind of thing. We ended up taking a trip to the Rocky Mountains and visited a canyon that we have gone to many times in the past because of its picturesque beauty and its hiking trails, but we've never gone to it in the wintertime, and we discovered, much to our surprise, that the agitating river and the waterfalls that fill the canyon freeze over so that you can hazard down into the canyon and walk along the frozen surfaces. But unless you have spikes on your boots and a tour guide to direct your path, which we didn't, there are a few spots that could be treacherous and even a little dangerous. And in those cases, we had to sometimes climb up and traverse the edifices of cliffs and even waterfalls. And even though my wife is quite physically capable and confident, I'm in some ways slightly more physically capable and confident. So that on this occasion, it made sense that I would take the lead and assume the risks of unfamiliar footing or paths. And then once it was determined that it was safe, I would climb back to her and help her negotiate the pass and brace her in dodgy scenarios. And even though I could have fallen in certain spots where my safety was slightly ambiguous, or I could have gotten wet by falling into the portions that were still flowing with water, the opportunity to take those risks and offer my strength to her provided a deep sense of satisfaction for me, because it was an opportunity to exchange love, which was then fulfilled. For me, it gave me the opportunity to give her something that she doesn't have, to be needed and to fill that need. For her, it was an opportunity to gladly receive what I have to offer and to fulfill the life cycle of that transaction of love. And these kinds of exchanges and the satisfaction that accompanies them are only possible when we're able to recognize that there are undeniable distinctions between us. But a marriage in which both parties assume the same roles and responsibilities and are encouraged to acquire the same goods individually is one that refuses either to have something that the other does not in the name of equality. But a marriage in which neither party has something that the other doesn't have is one in which it is impossible to give the other something that they don't have. Because that's what love is. Love is the willful gift of something that the other doesn't have and the grateful reception of that gift. But if everything is artificially constructed so that we all have the same goods, honors, and roles, then opportunities to love each other are utterly negated. It becomes the suicide of marriage, which reveals a harsh and uncomfortable truth that I think we need to learn to face. A world of equity and imposed equality of outcomes is a loveless world. If diversity is a good thing and something to be promoted and encouraged, it must mean the recognition that there are differences between individuals. And those differences, once recognized, must by logical necessity translate into unique strengths. And this is undeniable when you look around. Some people are bigger than other people. Some people are smarter than others. Some people are more detail-oriented. Some people are better with the big picture. Some people are more analytical, some people are more socially inclined, and on and on and on. And a community or society that wants to realize its optimal potential should encourage those with certain strengths to occupy certain roles that will allow them to offer those strengths back to the community. Practically speaking, not only will that realize the greatest good for everyone involved, but think about how fulfilling that is for the person who has these unique strengths that they can then offer back to everyone else for their good and for the good of the community. Because when you use a strength that others don't have, that can be an occasion to use that strength for the pursuit of mere self-interest, which can bring about a certain kind of satisfaction, like of a material nature, but will ultimately lead to isolation from others. But when you use your strengths and gifts in the service of those who don't possess those same strengths, you promote the interests of relationship and community and ultimately love. And that is a deeply satisfying and edifying experience, the kind that dispels loneliness and depression and anxiety and many other afflictions. But notice that two things have to happen for this great good to be realized. The one who possesses the unique strengths needs to be willing to offer those strengths in the service of others. And the others in this equation need to be willing to accept the gift of strength and service that is offered to them, which is often not that easy to do. It requires a lot of humility and vulnerability. And only in that full transaction can love be exchanged and realized, which is something we all need to find opportunities to give and to receive to fulfill our human nature. And this principle permeates the whole of whatever it is that we mean by marriage. Man and woman, if these words mean anything, they are distinguishing categories. It means certain individuals have certain feminine strengths and certain individuals have certain masculine strengths. And in some cases, they are strengths one does not have and needs from the other. It's an invitation and a challenge to blend those lives and those strengths together so that the two can lead a much greater and more fulfilled life than they would apart. But the darker side of this is that in recognizing and promoting the strengths of others by giving them roles and responsibilities, they may refuse to actually employ those responsibilities in the service of the community and others, instead preferring their own self-interest. That vulnerability comes at a cost. But if we refuse to recognize those distinctions and the unique strengths that certain people have out of a misplaced notion of equality, or worse, equity, then we create a world where, yes, those self-serving opportunities are reduced, maybe, but so too are the opportunities to love your neighbor or even your spouse. The point I'm trying to make in all of this is that distinct roles in marriage and in society are an undeniably good thing, as it optimizes our ability to achieve certain goods by promoting those with certain strengths to roles that make full use of those strengths. We promote athletes to athletic roles, we promote mechanical people to engineering roles, we promote charismatic people to important social roles, we promote men to important masculine roles and women to important feminine roles. That is, if we know what's good for us. What we don't do is promote short people to tall people roles, or dumb people to smart people roles, or men to women, or women to men in the name of an equality that is not found in the world that exists outside of our own heads. Now, don't mistake this to mean that I think that all attempts at recognizing these distinctions and defining roles according to those distinctions in the past were done perfectly and we just need to reestablish them. I'm more than willing to admit that in such attempts, society was and is bound to make a lot of mistakes, but refusing to recognize those distinctions and the roles that are appropriate to them, I think is a much bigger mistake. Just because we don't always hit the exact mark in our inquiry about what is true, doesn't mean we need to forsake all truth. It just means that we need to refine and improve after we've learned from our mistakes. Hey, thanks for watching. The reason I can continue making content like this is because of the generous support of my viewers. If you are able to support the work I'm doing, there are a couple of ways you can do that: by donating through my website or by joining my online community, The Reinforcements. Both can be done by visiting brianholdsworth.ca, the .ca because that's how we internet in Canada. And of course, don't forget to like and subscribe. And again, thanks for watching.